Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, dear students. Our current session is about diglossia and language shift. I hope and expect by the end of this session you will be able to understand how does diglossia play a role in language shift. Well, my dear students, since diglossia is the use of two different varieties, high and low, of the same language for different functions, as it was defined by Ferguson and was originally presented by Ferguson, it means more than one varieties of the same language exist within the same society and are used for different functions. However, I hope you also know that later on Fishman expanded the concept. Now, when the concept was expanded, Fishman included in it that it is not necessary that these are the varieties of the same language. It is also not necessary that the varieties are restricted to two languages only. Now, when we use this expanded definition of diglossia, we can see its link with language shift. So, diglossia in this expanded sense has often been noted as a factor in language shift, especially in speech communities where a minority language is in a diglossic relationship with a majority language, where there is a stronger language and there is a weaker language, where there is a language that is used by majority as compared to the other language that is used by minority. In fact, Fishman 1967 pointed out that bilingualism without diglossia tends to be transitional, both in terms of the linguistic repertoires of the speech communities as well as in terms of the speech varieties that are involved in it. By this, what does he mean? He means two things by this. A, that, in such bilingual situations, bilingual diglossic situations, what happens is that the linguistic repertoire of people, repertoire is a collection of, a fund of different languages that a speaker can use. And secondly, what happens? The local varieties of language, the speech varieties, they also undergo change because of this push and pull factors that are at work. According to Fishman, complementary norms and values, in a society, they work in relation to each other. One language now that is associated with the predominant group, which is associated with the predominated values, naturally it applies its forces on the other language, and thus it displaces the weaker language or the weaker languages. In some regions or societies in the world, people need and or use more than one language to communicate for various purposes. For certain purposes, one language is used. For certain other purposes, another language is used. I would just share a quick example of that. For example, in Germany, for the official purposes, German language is used, whereas people from different ethnic backgrounds and countries such as from Turkey and Poland, as well as from Russia, they use their mother tongues as well within their own speech communities for social interaction. Another example is of Turkey, where the official language is Turkey and, is Turkish, and it is used for all the formal purposes of government and business and official uses. A majority of the Turkish population, however, uses, a low variety of Turkish language in their, everyday language use. However, some people, as I said, they use a low variety. They use the Kurdish variety, or they use Arabic variety of language in their local communities of speech. Well, my dear students, since languages do not work or operate in vacuum, they take place, they exist, and they grow or develop in communities. So the processes of constant push and pull forces, the processes of constant contact and relationship amongst different kinds of languages, they create certain power dynamics, and the situation never remains stable. The situation of the languages keeps on changing. There keeps on coming a shift, from one language to the other. If we think of the example of Pakistan, for example, there is a visible shift in Pakistan from Punjabi to Urdu. Thus, all these influences occur, and wherever the boundaries are softer or wherever, one language is stronger than the other, the weaker language, gives up in favor of the stronger one. Correspondingly, a result of the effect of the majority languages towards the minority languages is that the process of shift or the process of change that takes place, it is always downwards. And actually this downwards change that can be called language shift. Example is, for example, how a powerful language, English, it has its impact. It pressurizes the Pennsylvania German language of the Amish society, where gradually there is a shift from this German variety of the Amish people towards English language. So this downward shift, which means that is because of the pressure or the push force of the stronger language, is called language shift, and this becomes a strong reason of language change. By the same token, Baker 2011 points out that there is a reduction in the number of the speakers of a language, or there is a decrease in the situation, the decreasing saturation of the language, of the speakers who in a population are in minority number, and the language of a majority takes over it, because at the end of the day, when the languages they operate in a community, some of them are powerful, some are less powerful.